Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are going to dive deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting by taking a closer look at the Jefferson nickel from 1959, the 5-cent coin that may seem ordinary at first glance but carries an interesting history and in some cases can be worth a surprising amount of money. When you think of American coinage, the Jefferson nickel stands as one of the most familiar designs. Introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson nickel features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse side, designed by Felix Schlag. The coin became a staple in circulation for decades. The reverse side originally displayed Jefferson's home Monticello, a neoclassical structure located near Charlottesville, Virginia. This building remains one of the most recognizable back designs in American coinage history. By 1959, the Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for over 20 years, and though the design remained the same, the story of each mintage year is unique. The year 1959 saw production at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with millions of coins struck. In total, the Philadelphia mint struck well over 26 million nickels, while the Denver mint produced an even higher figure, exceeding 125 million pieces to the average spender. In 1959, these coins were just pocket change, but to collectors today, their condition and rarity determine how much they are really worth. In terms of composition, the Jefferson nickel of 1959 followed the standard alloy used after World War II. It is 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin its distinctive color and durability. Unlike the wartime nickels from 1942 to 1945, the 1959 issue does not contain silver, so its base metal content is not especially valuable. However, the numismatic value of this coin comes from factors like grade, strike, luster, and potential errors. For the average circulated 1959 Jefferson nickel that you might find in pocket change today, the value usually stays at face value, which means just 5 cents. However, if you discover one in uncirculated condition with no wear, sharp details, and original mint luster, the value rises dramatically. Coins graded in mint state 60 or higher by professional services can bring anywhere from a couple of dollars to several tens of dollars depending on quality. The Denver mint issue of 1959 is slightly more common than the Philadelphia issue, but both can still be desirable in higher grades. Now let's talk about proof coins. In 1959, the United States Mint struck proof sets exclusively at the Philadelphia Mint. A proof coin is made using special polished dies and planchets, resulting in a highly reflective mirrored surface. These coins were not made for circulation but sold to collectors directly. A proof Jefferson nickel from 1959 in pristine condition, with cameo or deep cameo contrast, can bring strong premiums in today's market, sometimes reaching values between $20 and over $100 depending on the grade. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting the 1959 Jefferson nickel is the possibility of error coins. Errors occur when something goes wrong during the minting process, such as off-center strikes, double dies, repunched mint marks, or even clipped planchets. An error nickel from 1959 can easily be worth far more than a regular strike. Collectors often pay hundreds of dollars for dramatic errors, especially if they are authenticated and graded by a major service. When it comes to today's coin market value, the demand for Jefferson nickels has been steadily growing. We are going to dive deep into the fascinating world of Jefferson nickels, and in particular the 1961 5-cent coin. This is a piece of American history that many people overlook in their change drawer, but it actually has a lot of interesting facts behind it, along with surprising value in certain cases. So if you have one of these coins, or even a handful, you will definitely want to watch this entire video to learn about its history, details, and what it could be worth today. The Jefferson nickel has been minted since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the front, also known as the obverse, and his home Monticello on the reverse. The 1961 issue came at a time when the United States Mint was producing very high numbers of these coins as the economy was expanding and demand for coinage was high. In fact, over 283 million nickels were struck at the Philadelphia Mint that year, with no mint mark, and another 76 million at the Denver Mint, which carry the small d mint mark on the reverse next to Monticello. That means if you see a 1961 nickel with no mint mark, it is from Philadelphia, and if you see a small d on the back to the right of Monticello, it is from Denver. At first glance, most 1,961 nickels you encounter will look pretty common, and in circulated condition they usually only have face value of 5 cents. However, collectors pay special attention to quality coins, meaning Those that are uncirculated or those that come with strong strikes and clean surfaces. One thing to know is that nickels from this period often had weak strikes, meaning the details on Jefferson's hair or on Monticello's steps are not fully clear. If you find a 1961 nickel that has sharp detail on the steps of Monticello, especially what collectors call full steps designation, that is a big deal because those coins are very rare and command high prices at auctions. Let's talk about the general value. In circulated condition, a 1961 nickel, whether from Philadelphia or Denver, is generally worth between 5 and 25 cents depending on where. In uncirculated condition, the value increases dramatically. A bright mint state example can sell for a few dollars, and higher grades in the mint state 65 or mint state 66 range can go for $20 to $50 or more depending on quality. But where the real money comes in is with those rare full steps designations coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC that achieve the full steps label can sell for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. For example, a 1961 D Jefferson nickel graded MS67 with full steps has sold for over $3,000 at auction. Now let's touch on proof coins. In 1961 the San Francisco Mint was not striking coins, but the Philadelphia Mint did strike special proof sets. These proof nickels were made with extra care and polished dies, giving them a mirror-like surface. They were sold directly to collectors in proof sets, and today they are fairly common in lower grades worth around $2 to $5 each. However, high-grade proofs with cameo contrast or deep cameo designation can be worth much more, sometimes over $100 for the best examples. The market today for Jefferson nickels is very active, especially among collectors who specialize in building complete sets from 1938 up to modern day. The 1961 nickel is a key part of that set, and while most examples are common, the top-end coins really bring strong prices. If you happen to have a roll of old nickels from the bank or inherited from family, it is worth taking a closer look at the 1961 dates. Check for sharp details, check for mint marks, and consider having higher quality coins graded if you believe they may qualify for full steps designation. To summarize, the 1961 Jefferson nickel has a rich history as part of the long-running nickel series. Most circulated coins are only worth face value, but uncirculated examples can be worth a few dollars, and the rare full steps coins are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Proof versions are also collectible, with high-grade cameo coins reaching strong values. The current market continues to reward quality and rarity, so it pays to look carefully at every coin you come across. Video where we dive deep into the fascinating world of United States coins and explore one of the most overlooked but surprisingly valuable pieces in circulation, the 1977 Jefferson nickel, the 5-cent coin that most people would never think twice about, but that collectors pay close attention to because of its history, its design, its minting quirks, and the surprising values it can fetch in the coin market. Today, before we break down the value, let us start with the history. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The United States Mint held a competition to design the new coin, and the winning entry came from artist Felix Schlag. His design featured the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse side, and Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, on the reverse side. The design was kept for decades with only minor adjustments until the early 2000s. This means that the 1977 nickel is part of that long-running classic era that stretched from 1938 all the way to 2003. The year 1977 did not mark any special anniversary, but it came during a time when coin collecting was still thriving in the United States. The Mint produced these coins at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia and Denver issues were meant for circulation, while the San Francisco Mint struck proof coins specifically for collectors. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark. The Denver coins carry a small d mint mark on the reverse side, and the San Francisco proofs carry an S mint mark. Now let us look at mintages. In 1977 the Philadelphia Mint produced over 297 million nickels, while the Denver Mint produced over 297 million as well. The San Francisco Mint produced just over 3 million proof coins. While these numbers are large and make the coin common in circulation, the true interest comes from condition errors and the demand from collectors looking for perfect examples. Most nickels from this year are only worth face value in circulated condition, since they are still common. However, uncirculated examples, especially those graded by professional services, can be worth much more. A typical uncirculated coin from 1977 Philadelphia or Denver might bring between $1 and $3 depending on luster and strike quality, but when you move into higher mint state grades the values climb. A mint state 65 graded example can sell for around $10 to $20, and if you get into mint state 67, which is rare. For this issue the price can jump to over $100. In fact, registry set collectors who want the very best often drive the price of high-grade examples even higher because the population of those top-graded coins is extremely limited. The proof coins from San Francisco are also widely collected. A typical 1977's proof nickel is not rare and usually sells for around $1 or $2. But coins with perfect deep cameo surfaces and high grades from professional grading services can reach $20 to $50 or more when collectors are looking for pristine sets. Errors are another big factor that makes the 1977 nickel worth more money. Collectors love mistakes because they make a coin unique. Some of the known errors for this year include off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets. A dramatic off-center strike that still shows the date and mint mark can sell for $50 to $100 or more. A strong double die on the obverse where Jefferson's features or the lettering are doubled could fetch hundreds depending on the strength and visibility of the doubling. Clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is missing because of a mistake in the blank cutting process are also collectible and can sell in the $20 to $50 range. When talking about rarity, it is important to remember that while millions of these coins exist, the real scarcity lies in top condition coins and unique error examples. For most people, a circulated 1977 nickel will always be worth just 5 cents, but for a collector seeking that one gem coin with perfect strike, no contact marks, and beautiful luster, the price tag can be significant. So what is the current market value in 2025? The overall coin market has remained strong with interest in high-grade Jefferson nickels growing steadily. An average circulated 1977 nickel is still only worth face value 5 cents. An uncirculated example might bring between $1 and $5 depending on condition. A certified mint state 65 can sell between $10 and $25, while mint state 67 examples are scarce and can sell anywhere from $100 to several $100s depending on demand and auction results. For proof nickels from San Francisco, typical examples are worth $1 or $2, while perfect proof 70 deep cameo pieces can bring anywhere from $50 to over $100. Errors, as always, are priced on a case-by-case basis, but dramatic examples remain in strong demand. In conclusion, the 1977 Jefferson nickel is a coin that shows how ordinary change in your pocket can sometimes hold hidden value. While most examples are common and spendable, there are certain coins in this date that are worth a surprising amount of money. Whether it is an error coin, a high-grade mint state piece, or a perfect proof, the 1977 nickel continues to attract collectors and investors alike. So next time you come across a nickel from the 1970s, check carefully, because you might be holding more than just 5 cents. You could be holding a coin worth 10, 20, or even hundreds of dollars. We are diving deep into the Jefferson nickel, and specifically the 1978 5-cent nickel, a coin that might look like ordinary pocket change, but in the world of coin collecting it carries history, interest, and in some rare cases surprising value. Let's start from the beginning, because understanding the Jefferson nickel means going all the way back to 1938 when it was first introduced. This coin replaced the Buffalo nickel, also known as the Indian head nickel. The United States Mint decided to hold a public design competition, and the winning design came from Felix Schlag. His portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, has appeared on the obverse or the front of the coin ever since, although it has gone through some updates over the decades. The reverse originally featured Jefferson's home Monticello, a beautiful neoclassical mansion located in Virginia, and it has remained one of the most iconic symbols on American coinage. Now, by 1978, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for 40 years. The composition of the coin was the familiar copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a total weight of 5 grams and a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. This year was not marked by any major design changes, but the mintage numbers are something worth noting. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 374 million nickels in 1978, while the Denver Mint produced more than 333 million, and the San Francisco Mint issued proof coins for collectors with a mintage of just over 3.1 million. That means in total there were well over 700 million nickels made for that year, which makes the coin common in circulation. However, coin collectors do not just look at total numbers, they pay attention to condition, rarity, and mint errors. For most 1978 nickels found in circulation, the value is face value 5 cents, but when you look at coins in mint state condition graded by companies like PCGS or NGC, the story changes. Coins with sharp details, original luster, and nowhere can be worth several dollars, and if you move up into high mint state levels such as MS65 or MS66, the value can jump into the tens of dollars. Since finding a perfectly preserved nickel from over 40 years ago is far less common now, let's talk about proof coins from the San Francisco Mint. These were struck with extra care, polished dies and mirror-like surfaces. They were sold directly to collectors in sets. If you come across a 1978 proof nickel in pristine condition, it can bring a few dollars, but if it grades PR69 or PR70 deep cameo, the value increases significantly since perfection in proofs is always in demand. One of the most exciting areas of collecting is mint errors and varieties. While the 1978 Jefferson nickel does not have a famous double die or dramatic over mint mark like some other years, there are still minor errors worth watching for. These can include off center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and full step designations. The full steps variety refers to the steps on Monticello on the reverse of the coin. If all the steps are clearly struck without breaks, the coin is far scarcer and can command a strong premium. A 1978 nickel with full steps, especially at higher mint state grades, can be worth far more than an ordinary example, sometimes reaching over $100, depending on the grade. So what is the current market value today for the 1978 Jefferson nickel? In average circulation condition, the value is simply 5 cents, but in uncirculated mint state condition, coins typically sell between $1 and $10, with high-grade full steps varieties commanding much higher prices. Proof coins from San Francisco usually range from $1 to $5 for common grades, but can exceed $20 or more for flawless high-grade examples, and error coins are valued individually depending on the type and severity of the mistake, but collectors will often pay strong premiums for unique and eye-catching errors. In summary, the 1978 Jefferson nickel is a common coin with hundreds of millions produced, but within that massive mintage there are hidden gems: coins in perfect condition, coins with full steps, coins with striking errors, and coins preserved in proof sets that stand out from the rest. While the majority of these nickels will always be worth just 5 cents, the rare few can bring in surprising amounts on the collector's market. So the next time you come across a nickel from 1978, take a close look, check the mint mark, examine the condition, and pay special attention to those Monticello steps. You never know if you might be holding a small piece of numismatic history that is worth more than you think. We are going to talk about the Jefferson 1994 D5-cent nickel coin, its history, its value, and what makes it special for collectors and for anyone who might find one in change. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel and featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side, designed by Felix Schlag. The reverse design until 2004 featured Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. By 1994 the design had already been in use for more than 50 years, making it one of the most familiar coins in American pockets. The 1994 D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint with the mint mark D placed on the obverse side to the right of Jefferson's portrait. In that year millions of nickels were produced, which means that most examples you might find today in circulation are only worth face value of 5 cents if they are worn or show heavy use. However, condition and rarity of errors make a huge difference in value. Circulated examples of the 1994 D Jefferson nickel are common and typically trade for just a few cents above face value. But uncirculated coins, those that were never used in commerce and were carefully preserved in rolls or mint sets, can be worth more to collectors. An uncirculated example graded in mint state 60 might bring about 25 cents to 50 cents, while coins in mint state 65 can sell for $1 or $2. If you find a coin graded MS 67 which is nearly flawless, it can be worth significantly more, sometimes over $50 depending on market demand. Error coins are another area of interest. Sometimes nickels from 1994 D may show off center strikes, die cracks, or double die obverse and reverse varieties. These errors can dramatically increase the value of the coin. For example, an off-center strike showing missing design elements can sell for $10 to $20, while major errors can go even higher. Another factor is proof-like or fully struck examples with full steps on the Monticello building on the reverse. Collectors call this designation FS, or full steps. A coin with full steps means the steps of Monticello are sharply struck without wear or weakness. These are rare and highly desirable. A 1994 D nickel with full steps graded by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC can be worth hundreds of dollars, especially in high mint state grades. Now let us talk about recent market values. In the past several years, online auctions and coin shows have seen strong interest in Jefferson nickels with high-quality strikes. A 1994 D nickel with full steps in MS 67 condition has sold for over $500 in the open market. More common mint state examples without the full steps designation still trade in the lower ranges between $1 and $5. Bulk rolls of 1994 D nickels can also be found for modest premiums over face value, but the true money is in those certified high-grade or error varieties. Collectors value the 1994 D nickel not because it is rare in circulation but because finding that perfect example is a real challenge. The Denver Mint in the early 1990s had very high production, but striking quality was not always the best, so strong sharp details are hard to come by. That is why grading and certification matter. Submitting a coin for grading costs money, so it only makes sense if you believe the coin has a real chance of being a top grade or showing full steps. So if you have a handful of change, check your nickels from the 1990s. Look closely at the Monticello steps, look for doubling in the letters, and check the overall condition. Even if most are only worth 5 cents, every once in a while a collector quality example shows up, and those can bring surprising prices. In summary, the Jefferson 1994 D 5-cent nickel has a long history as part of America's circulating coinage. Most are common and worth only face value, but high-grade uncirculated examples with full steps or with error varieties can be worth a lot of money. Current market values range from a few cents in circulation up to hundreds of dollars in the highest grades with rare designations. That makes the 1994 D nickel an exciting coin for both beginner and advanced. We are going to talk about the Jefferson nickel from the year 2000 with the Denver Mint mark, also known as the 2000 D Jefferson 5-cent nickel. This coin may seem like just an ordinary pocket change coin at first glance, but it actually carries a fascinating story in terms of history, minting background, collector demand, and potential value depending on the condition and rarity of certain examples. The Jefferson nickel itself has a long history stretching back to 1938 when it replaced the Buffalo nickel design. The coin was introduced to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the main author of the Declaration of Independence. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Jefferson, while the reverse until 2003 showcased his home Monticello in Virginia. This design by Felix Schlag became one of the longest-running designs in American coinage history and remained in use for more than 6 decades. By the year 2000, the United States Mint was producing Jefferson nickels in very high numbers. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins, and the 2000 D Jefferson nickel is one of them. Most examples you will encounter in circulation are worth only their face value of 5 cents, but the story does not end there. Collectors always look for high-grade coins with no sharp details and strong luster. These can be worth far more than face value depending on grade and market demand. For circulated 2000 D Jefferson nickels, the general value remains at about 5 cents to perhaps 10 cents if the coin is in nice condition, but when we step into the uncirculated or mint state grades, the values increase. A coin graded mint state 65 or higher by services such as PCGS or NGC can sell for a few dollars up to $10 depending on the strike quality. When you reach mint state 67 and above, the value can climb even higher, sometimes reaching $50 or more because of the difficulty in finding flawless examples with minimal marks and full detail. The very top population coins, which might grade MS-68 with a full strike, are considered condition rarities and can fetch hundreds of dollars at auction. Another important factor to consider is errors and varieties. The year 2000 saw some interesting errors across U.S. coinage, and the Jefferson nickel series is no exception. Collectors pay strong premiums for coins with double die obverse or reverse features, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or full steps on the Monticello reverse. The full steps designation refers to the horizontal lines on the front of Monticello's steps. When they are completely struck and visible without breaks, it indicates a sharp strike from fresh dies, and collectors of Jefferson nickels place a strong premium on these. A 2000 D nickel with full steps in very high grade can sell for significantly more money than a typical example, sometimes crossing into the $100 range or more depending on grade. Now let us talk about the current market. As of today, the general market for Jefferson nickels remains stable, with common circulated coins staying at face value but with increased collector attention on high-grade examples, especially certified full-step nickels. Auction records have shown some impressive prices for top-graded examples. For instance, a 2000 D Jefferson nickel graded MS-67 with full steps has brought in several $100s at auction. This shows how even a modern coin that most people overlook can carry hidden value when condition rarity comes into play. That if you are searching through your pocket change rolls or coin jars, it is worth taking a close look at your 2000 D Jefferson nickels. Pay special attention to the steps on Monticello under magnification. If you can count all the steps clearly without breaks or weak spots, you may have something worth submitting for grading. Also check for die cracks, doubling or off-center strikes. Any unusual feature can raise the value significantly above face value. In summary, while the majority of 2000D Jefferson nickels will only be worth 5 cents, there are certain conditions and varieties that can turn them into valuable collectibles. Mint state examples, especially with full steps, are worth pursuing and can sell for anywhere from a few dollars to several hundred depending on grade. The history of the Jefferson nickel itself adds to the appeal, as it is one of the most iconic long-running coin designs in United States history. For coin collectors, the hunt for the perfect example continues, and for everyday people there is always a chance that a simple coin in your change could turn out to be worth much more than you think. We are talking about the 2001D Jefferson nickel from Denver Mint, a coin that at first glance seems ordinary but is actually an important piece of American coinage history with interesting values in the collector market. The Jefferson nickel itself has been minted since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it features the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, designed by Felix Schlag. The obverse shows Jefferson facing left while the reverse displays Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. For decades this design became a familiar part of American pocket change, and by 2001 the Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for more than 60 years. The 2001D nickel was struck at the Denver Mint and millions were produced, which means most examples are common and usually worth just face value in circulation. However, coin collectors know that even in years with high mintage numbers, certain examples stand out because of condition, strike quality, or minting errors. This is where the true value of the 2001D nickel can rise significantly. Most circulated examples of the 2001D nickel are only worth 5 cents, but if you find a coin in uncirculated condition, especially one graded by a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC, the value can rise to $1, $2, or even $5 depending on the grade. The highest mint state examples such as MS66 or MS67 can bring even more, since they are far scarcer in pristine condition. Collectors search for sharp strikes, full steps on Monticello, which refers to the clear and complete lines on the steps of the building. On the reverse, these full steps nickels are particularly valuable and often command premium prices because they demonstrate an exceptional strike. Error coins are another area where the 2001D nickel becomes exciting. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets are all types of errors that can occur during the minting process, and collectors will pay far above face value for them depending on the severity and rarity of the error. Some of these 2001D Jefferson nickels can sell for $50, $100, or even several $100s in auction when the error is dramatic. It is also important to note that condition plays a huge role in determining value. A coin that has been circulated with scratches, dings, and discoloration is generally worth only face value, but a coin stored carefully in a mint set or found in change without wear can be significantly more desirable to collectors. High-grade examples in mint state condition, especially those with full steps, can bring values between $20 and $100 depending on demand. Looking at the market today, most common 2001D nickels sell between 5 cents and a few dollars, but the standout coins with high grades or unique errors continue to bring strong prices. For instance, there have been certified full steps examples that sold for more than $200 at auction, which is a huge increase from the original face value. Collectors are always hunting for coins with superior luster, eye appeal, and strike quality. The Jefferson nickel series remains popular among coin enthusiasts because it is accessible, affordable to start, and yet offers plenty of challenge with the full steps varieties. The 2001D nickel fits perfectly into this narrative because while it is modern and common in circulation, the rare high-grade or error examples remind us that treasure can still be found in everyday change. So if you happen to come across a 2001D Jefferson nickel, check the condition, look closely at the steps on Monticello, examine for any unusual errors, and consider whether it might be worth sending for professional grading. While most will be worth just a nickel, a select few can be worth tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on the market. In conclusion, the 2001D Jefferson nickel is a fascinating coin for collectors. It represents a piece of American history, features the long-running design of Felix Schlag, and provides opportunities for valuable finds in the world of coin collecting. Whether you are a beginner or advanced collector, the story of this nickel proves that even modern coins can hold hidden value and that the hobby of coin collecting continues to bring surprises. We are going to talk about one of the most interesting modern coins from the United States Mint, the 2007 P. Jefferson nickel, the 5-cent piece that many collectors overlook but can actually be worth more than its face value depending on condition errors and market demand. So let's dive deep into the history, the design, the minting process, and the value of this coin so you know exactly what to look for in your pocket. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938 when it replaced the buffalo nickel designed by Felix Schlag. The obverse or front of the coin has featured a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, for decades, but in 2004 and 2005 the United States Mint introduced the Westward Journey nickel series, which changed the designs temporarily before settling into the modern forward-facing portrait we see today. Beginning in 2006, the new design by Jamie Franke showed a more detailed image of Jefferson facing forward with the word Liberty written in Jefferson's own handwriting style. The reverse of the coin still features Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, originally designed by Schlag but refined over the years. Now let's talk specifically about the 2007 P issue. The P mint mark stands for Philadelphia, which is one of the major mints that produces coins for circulation. In 2007 the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins, so the coin is not considered rare in terms of mintage. However, the value and collectability come from condition mint state grades and error varieties. When we talk about condition coin, collectors use the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor 1 all the way to mint state 70, a coin fresh from the mint with no flaws. Most 2007 nickels in circulation today will show signs of wear, such as scratches, dull surfaces, or worn lettering, but if you find one in near uncirculated condition or better, it can already be worth a small premium over face value. For example, a circulated 2007 P. Jefferson nickel is generally worth 5 cents, but an uncirculated one can bring anywhere from 25 cents to $1 depending on the buyer. Where things get exciting is with coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. A 2007 P. Jefferson nickel in mint state 65 condition might sell for around $1 or $2, while higher grades such as mint state 67 can command prices in the $10 to $20 range, and if you reach the very top mint state 68 or higher, you are looking at a coin that can sell for several $100s because of its rarity at that condition level. Let's also talk about special varieties and errors, because this is where the big money comes in. Collectors always look for double dies, off-center strikes, missing letters, or planchet errors. For the 2007 P. Jefferson nickel there are reports of double die obverse where the word Liberty or the date shows extra thickness under magnification. Some coins also show die cracks along Jefferson's portrait or the Monticello building. These can increase the value anywhere from a few dollars to over $100 depending on severity and demand. Another type of valuable error is when the coin is struck off center, meaning the design is shifted on the blank planchet. If the shift is dramatic enough, 50% or more, the coin can be worth $50 to several $100s. It's also worth noting that coin roll hunters, people who search through rolls of nickels from banks, often look for these 2007 P nickels because they can find higher grade examples directly from rolls. Even today, if you get lucky and find a roll that was saved from circulation 15 years ago, you might pull out brilliant uncirculated coins that could be submitted for grading. Now let's talk about the market in 2025. The value of coins can change over time based on collector demand, precious metal prices. Even though the nickel itself is not made of silver, and overall trends in the hobby right now, the 2007 P. Jefferson nickel still sells for face value in most cases, but when it comes to high-grade certified examples, the prices remain strong in online auctions and coin shows. There are collectors who want to complete a full set of Jefferson nickels from 1938 to the present, and they will pay premiums for coins in the highest grades possible. So what does this mean for you if you have a 2007 P nickel in your pocket or coin jar? Take a closer look. Check the details on Jefferson's face, the clarity of the lettering, the sharpness of Monticello, and the luster of the coin. If it looks nearly perfect with no scratches or bag marks, it might be worth setting aside and even sending to a grading service, especially if you think it could grade mint state 67 or higher. Always use a magnifying glass to check for doubling, die cracks, or other anomalies, because those small differences can turn a 5-cent piece into a coin worth $50 or more. To summarize the history and value, the Jefferson nickel series began in 1938. The forward-facing Jefferson design started in 2006. The 2007 P nickel is a continuation of that design, struck in Philadelphia with hundreds of millions produced in circulated condition. It is worth face value in uncirculated condition. It may be worth up to $1 in certified mint state grades. The coin can be worth between a few dollars and several $100s. Error coins can be worth Much more depending on type and rarity, and in the current market collectors are actively buying high-grade examples, making this an interesting and sometimes surprisingly valuable modern coin. We are going to dive into a fascinating and often overlooked modern coin, the 2022 P. Jefferson nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This small 5-cent piece might seem ordinary at first glance, but when you really dig into the history of the Jefferson nickel and the current market value of specific modern issues, including errors, varieties, and high-grade examples, you start to see why collectors are paying closer attention and in some cases quite a lot of money for certain coins. Let us start with the history of the Jefferson nickel itself. The design was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel that had been in circulation since 1913. The new design featured President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with Monticello, his Virginia home, on the reverse, sculpted by Felix Schlag. The Jefferson nickel has been one of the longest-running designs in American coinage history, with only modest changes over the decades. Fast forward to 2004 and 2005, we saw major design changes as part of the Westward Journey series, but by 2006 the Mint returned to a more traditional design with a forward-facing portrait of Jefferson by Jamie Franke and a detailed depiction of Monticello on the reverse. That design is what continues today, including on the 2022 P issue. Now focusing on the 2022 P Jefferson nickel itself, the letter P represents the Philadelphia Mint, one of the primary facilities of the United States Mint. That year the mintage numbers were quite high, over 1 billion nickels were struck across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, meaning that the majority of 2022 nickels are very common in circulation. If you find one in your pocket change, it is typically worth just its face value of 5 cents. However, this is where the details matter. Condition, rarity, and variety can turn a regular nickel into a valuable collectible. Collectors pay close attention to uncirculated examples that have been professionally graded, coins that achieve a grade of MS67 or higher from services like PCGS or NGC are much more difficult to find than you might think. Even though billions were minted, the vast majority show contact mark scratches or weak strikes. Only a tiny fraction are preserved in pristine condition, and those can command strong prices at auction. For instance, a 2022 P Jefferson nickel in MS67 condition could sell for anywhere between $50 and $200 depending on the market, and an MS68 example, if it exists, could potentially reach even higher values. Since these grades are exceptionally rare beyond grade, there are also errors and varieties that collectors hunt for. Error coins from 2022 have already been reported. Examples include die cracks, cuts off center strikes, and even double die obverse varieties. Although not every error is valuable, some dramatic ones can fetch serious premiums. Imagine finding a nickel with a large die break across the design, or one that was struck on a misaligned planchet. Such coins can easily sell for $50 to several $100. Depending on eye appeal and rarity. In the error coin market, the Jefferson nickel series has always been popular with collectors because it is accessible. You can still pull examples from pocket change, yet it also has layers of depth for specialists who look for varieties like double dies, repunched mint marks, or full steps on Monticello. When grading Jefferson nickels, one of the most desirable designations is full steps. This refers to the lines on the steps of Monticello on the reverse. If those steps are fully struck and unbroken, it shows that the coin was made with a very sharp strike. Full step nickels are always in demand, and for the 2022 P examples, a full step designation in high grade can significantly increase the value. As for current market value, right now most circulated 2022 P nickels are worth only face value, just 5 cents. However, uncirculated rolls and mint sets are already being collected and sold by dealers. You might find original bank wrapped rolls selling for a small premium, maybe around $3 to $5 above face value. In 2025 the premium is not huge, but serious collectors know that holding on to pristine examples could pay off in the long run if grading services recognize very high grade survivors and demand rises. Auction records for modern nickels in top condition show that collectors are willing to spend real money to own the finest known coins. It is also important to note that values for modern coins like the 2022 P Jefferson nickel can fluctuate depending on overall collector interest and the rarity of top-graded pieces. While the average coin may remain common forever, those few superb gems with perfect luster, sharp strikes, and no marks can stand out and become the key coins of the series. So if you are searching through pocket change or buying uncirculated rolls, it is worth paying attention to quality and detail. To recap, the 2022 P Jefferson nickel has a massive mintage and most examples will remain common, worth just 5 cents in Circulation, but collectors should look for mint state coins with full steps, high grades, and potential errors or varieties. Those are the pieces that can be worth a lot more money today, with some already selling for $50, $100, or even several $100s depending on rarity and condition. And who knows, in the future, if the finest examples are submitted and become registry set coins, the value could climb even higher. So next time you get change back at the store, take a second look at your nickels, especially if you see the 2022 Philadelphia issue, because hidden among the billions of ordinary coins there might just be a rare high-grade or error coin that could be worth far more than face value. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more coin collecting guides, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on coin values, history, and how to spot the treasures hiding in your change. See you in the next one.